Welcome to Moments with Marianne. This is your host, Marianne Pastana, and we're here today with special guests, Yolanda Williams and Heather McCutcheon, and they're here to share with us the 2024 Reiki Rays Healing Summit. So can the healing power of Reiki help you to find balance in all areas of your life while restoring emotional well-being? Well, today's guest and co-host of the summit are going to dive into just that. This profound event is designed to ignite your true self, strong and unyielding, ready to embrace the future with confidence. As you rise into your inner truth and power, watch every aspect of your life unfold in beautiful and unexpected ways. Nurturing a foundation rooted in love, compassion, and self-awareness. You'll meet inner wisdom teachers and spiritual visionaries with 30-plus leading Reiki experts to guide you along the way. So Yolanda Williams is a Reiki teacher and the host of Reiki Radio Podcast. She's also certified in wellness counseling through Cornell University. Her work facilitates new levels of self-connection and reveals the dynamics of mind, body, and energy. Yolanda's classes include Ushui Reiki Ryoho, all levels in San Diego, as well as mentoring and intuitive awakening courses online. Her virtual group classes through the Alchemy Circle are open to practitioners of all levels and lineages. Heather McCutcheon is a licensed massage therapist and the founder, executive director of the Reiki Brigade. Since 2011, she and her team have offered more than 7,000 10-minute Reiki sessions to Chicago police and firefighters, homeless veterans, incarcerated individuals, violence interpreters, medical students and faculty, corporate wellness events, and many more. Heather has written a book, Connecting the Dots, from ad exec to energy practitioner, about her journey from Reiki skeptic to activist, and has articles featured in numerous trade publications. So welcome to the show, Yolanda Williams and Heather McCutcheon.
Thanks for having us. It's great to be here.
Thank you so much.
Oh my goodness, what an honor it is to have the both of you here and to talk about this summit. So how did this summit come into being?
Well, this is the 9th annual year. It is put on by a group called Reiki Rays, and they started out creating a lot of content for the Reiki community. So there are a lot of contributors. They have contributors from all different Reiki lineages and from all across the globe. And it started out as just a great resource center where you could find blogs and articles and other content to help educate all of us within the Reiki community. And then it expanded into this annual conference. And so this is the 9th year.
The audience has grown year over year. There are now tens of thousands of people from around the globe tuning in to hear what the Reiki visionaries have to contribute. And it's just a phenomenal way to connect, share information, and grow as Reiki practitioners.
So for those that are new to Reiki, what is Reiki and how can this positively impact their lives?
Well, Reiki in of itself, it is a energy healing modality. Many people recognize it as a modality that was founded in Japan in 1922 by a man named McCutcheon. And it's often associated with laying of hands. So you can lay your hands to direct energy, universal life force energy, as a way to help harmonize and balance energies within ourselves, other people, even things like food and environments. And while it can be very useful and beneficial to help alleviate physical pain and to help alleviate stress, we've also found as you continue to practice that it shifts and changes you in a lot of ways. You start to come into a different relationship with your mind, your emotion, the way you see and understand life. So it's really a diverse and phenomenal practice and really does have more benefit than most people are aware of.
First and foremost, it's a form of self-care, and that's often what's emphasized as you take the early Reiki classes. Can be learned very easily by anybody. And also used as a modality to help others. And that's kind of where I've focused. Of course, as a means of self-care, put on your own oxygen mask first. But I find that once people are practicing Reiki and feeling better themselves, they want to share that with others. So we know that hurt people, but happy, healthy people want people to be happy and healthy. And so I find our Reiki community is very eager to reach out and offer these same benefits to other people. So first and foremost, a form of self-care, but also a modality that can be practiced on others and learned so quickly and easily and passed on to others so quickly and easily.
Is this something that can help people manage stress and anxiety and help with emotional healing?
Absolutely. So I'm the founder of the Reiki Brigade, and we do outreach. Have about 26 volunteers right now offering Reiki to Chicago police officers as well as people incarcerated, um, violence interrupters, veterans with PTSD, and we just offer them 10-minute sessions. And the before and after, there's just phenomenal change. And the fact that anybody can do this and people can benefit so tremendously, so quickly and easily, and not only do they feel better individually, like as a form of healthcare for that person, but then they go forth in the world and they behave in a way that's more in keeping with, what their higher self would want for them. And that ripples out into families, communities, and society as a whole. So I just feel like, the change that we can bring about if more and more people start practicing Reiki is just really limitless. And I'm just a big proponent of that. Physical, emotional, psychological, spiritual change. We've seen it all.
So, Yolanda, is Reiki something that can be practiced at a distance, or do we need to be together in person for that?
Yeah, well, fortunately, energy is boundless. And so, yes, we do have a practice where we don't have to be in the same physical location, and it is called Enkaku. But it is very popular within the Reiki community because it does give us the ability to work with anyone at any time in any place. And a lot of people, of course, are curious about how that is possible. But, I always tell people to think about how you walk in a room and you can feel tension in the room and the way we are able to perceive and feel each other all the time. Well, with the system of Reiki, there are practices you learn of how to direct your mind and tune into the energy, the consciousness of anyone in particular. And so, yes, it can be practiced. It is very commonly done. And it's a great thing because of with how global it has become. And even for myself, my family lives 3,000 miles away from me. So it's great to be able to do Reiki for them, even though I'm not physically there.
And that can be challenging for people to comprehend. It was challenging for me to comprehend. But as I started studying, quantum physics, specifically Albert Einstein, who knows a lot about the nature of reality, and I'm going to paraphrase, but he says something to the effect of, "There's no such thing as time and space. Those are just modes in which we think." So the deeper you look into e- energetic, quantum physics, energy, vibrational reality, the more you recognize that this is very possible. This is the way the world works. So it doesn't take any particular kind of belief system. It's just how it is.
Do you feel that Reiki complements traditional medicine?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And in fact, I teach in my classes, I prefer that people not use the term alternative medicine because that kind of implies either or. I much prefer, these new terms that are coming up, integrative and complementary, which means that they're working collaboratively. And more hospitals around the United States and any kind of healthcare facilities, recovery centers, addiction recovery centers, et cetera, are incorporating Reiki into their practice. Here in Chicago, we have Northwestern Hospital, and they have a web page. They offer Reiki. They have it on their website. It's more common than you think, and I'm just surprised more people haven't heard of it. So we're glad to be here.
What is the wow factor of this year's summit that people can absolutely, I mean, they have to be in attendance for?
I would say the wow factor to me every year is just that it is so diverse. I mean, you really get to learn so much because, again, you have practitioners and teachers from around the world. And just like Heather shared, the way that she even does outreach work with Reiki. And again, very commonly now, we're seeing Reiki in hospitals, hospice. Even in some countries, they're trying to integrate it into schools now. So you get to learn so many different ways where it's possible to use Reiki. So we don't have such a limited view around it. I think it's phenomenal as a practitioner, or just anyone interested in Reiki because, again, you get to learn not just the possibility of how Reiki can be used, but you learn a lot of practical ways to actually use this technique and how you can follow a path that feels right to you and Reiki be complementary to that. I think the practicality of what the teachers and practitioners share that make it all very possible, where people probably think it's an impossibility or just not have considered so much of what is shared.
The theme this year is rooted in your inner truth, embrace change. And for me, I mean, especially in these times where there's a lot of stress and a lot of divisive information floating around, it's really wonderful to come to a place where there's so much positivity. Everyone is self-aware, looking towards self-growth. And, Mr. Rogers famously said about his mother when there were, times of strife or times of difficulty, look for the helpers and that will make you feel better. And this is absolutely a summit full of helpers. So in a time where you may be stressed out watching the news for one reason or another, climate change, politics, etc., to tune into this and just be really inspired and motivated and hopeful and even get a sense of agency, for me is a wow factor for this summit.
So, what would you say is the heart of the summit's message? Is that what you just mentioned?
Yeah, root of your inner truth, rooted in your inner truth, embrace change is the theme for this year. But absolutely, it's all the things that Yolanda said too. People from around the world coming together to share this message of positivity and healing and collaborate to educate and share what they know with everybody.
You're both bringing together world-renowned healers from across the globe. How do you think this international lineup adds to the magic and the energy of the event?
It's fun to be able to get access to a lot of teachers and healers that you may not otherwise. So, being here in the United States, there may be teachers that a lot of us have heard about, but don't necessarily get the opportunity to learn from because of travel and those kinds of things. But the summit just gives us this full range of access to, again, teachers that are well known, authors, researchers, even. I mean, there's so many different types of contributors within the summit. So I think it's very beneficial to all of us. I think we're all very fortunate to have this access that wouldn't necessarily be easy otherwise.
Just as Yolanda said earlier, the wide variety is really incredible, and the diversity of what people bring to the table, because it is definitely renowned visionaries. It's also people who are doing things in unique ways that we might not have thought of. Anybody with a new voice, a new practice, and revolutionary technique and way of applying Reiki that everyone could benefit from learning about. Maria does a lot of great research and really curates the list of invitees to the summit, and she does a phenomenal job. And so everybody brings something new. Yolanda and I have both been practicing Reiki for a really long time, and we both have said every single interview, there's takeaways. We learn something new. Our practice is becoming richer and more full. Everyone can benefit from this, whether you've been a Reiki practitioner for a really long time or you're curious about Reiki. There's something in there for you to benefit from and take away.
Well, on that note, we're going to pause here for a quick break. We've been speaking with Yolanda Williams and Heather McCutcheon from the Reiki Rays Healing Summit. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne. We'll be right back after these messages from our sponsors.
Are you an author, speaker, or expert who is looking for more publicity? Visit radioguestlist.com and sign up for free interview requests from shows looking for guests. Radio Guest List is the #1 free booking resource for radio, podcasts, and TV talk shows who are looking for experts like you right now. Visit radioguestlist.com and sign up today to get the visibility you deserve.
There comes a moment when you realize you're somewhere special. When you discover that each beautiful creature that you see has been rescued from a life of absolute horror and brought to this incredibly free place. Here's where their lives were forever changed, and where yours will as well. Discover over 500 tigers, bears, and lions at the brand new visitor center at the Wild Animal Sanctuary just outside Denver. For more information, visit wildanimalsanctuary.org. Discover true freedom at the Wild Animal Sanctuary.
It's one thing to become attached to your perfect home, but what do you do when that home becomes attached to you? A family in dire need of a fresh start, a mysterious house tied to the past. Buried deep within the foundation of the old Far Hill Manor lies a centuries-old secret. Dark forces or something stronger just waiting to be discovered. Caretaker, a supernatural thriller by breakout authors R.J. Halpert.
Internationally recognized and award-winning author Judy Goodman works and teaches outside the box of limited thinking. Working with people from every walk of life, her goal is to empower you to be the best you can be, no matter what the challenge is. Born with the gift of seeing beyond our normal vision, she has an extraordinary gift of working with every challenge. Teaching beyond conventional wisdom, her work is described as life-changing. Visit judygoodman.com. That's judygoodman.com.
I'd like to thank Jason Eastwood at Guitarfulness for sharing his inspiring music and talent with us. His music is known worldwide for cultivating atmospheres of harmony, inner peace, and clarity. Visit Jason's website at guitarfulness.com. Join his newsletter, be part of his community, and download his music. Welcome back to Moments with Marianne. We're here today with special guests Yolanda Williams and Heather McCutcheon, and they're here sharing with us the Reiki Rays Healing Summit. Can you share with us some of the wisdom and techniques we'll be experiencing during the summit?
Well, I know from some of the interviews, and we each interviewed a lot of people. So I can say from the interviews that I was able to conduct, you will learn a lot about intuition, how Reiki really does not just for some people illuminate their intuitive abilities, but just some people have a curiosity within that realm. So there are discussions around that. As I mentioned, there's a lot of discussion around how Reiki is now being integrated into healthcare and ways that there's really a push to have their scientific research being done. I mean, people are really doing a lot of work to make this more accessible and available to people in all kinds of treatment settings. Another thing that was interesting to me is, again, the researchers. There are still so many people doing a lot of research to understand the roots in the history of Reiki, including having more depth of understanding around the founders. So that's some of the things that I really enjoyed learning this year.
Whenever possible, I would ask the speaker to go through one of their exercises or demonstrate one of their techniques so it can be experiential as well. You're watching, you're learning, you're taking in information, but now all of a sudden you're doing an exercise that you can repeat on your own thereafter. So just for example, I interviewed Kim Chesney of Intuition Labs, and Yolanda mentioned intuition. I feel like that's kind of a secret special sauce of Reiki, that people go for the healing and then the intuition is a surprise to them, that they're deepening the way that they're processing information and receiving information. And it's something that, it's a learning curve. And she brought to the table this phenomenal exercise where she said, okay, this is going to be a decision-making aid. Ask a question where there are two answers and get a visual for both answers. So you've got this picture for answer one and this picture for answer two. Now look at those pictures and ask the question and what happens. And it was very clear to me what the answer to my question was and what the answer to that, decision making, what the route should be for me, what path there was for me to go forward based on that very simple exercise. I don't consider myself a very visual person. It was very clear to me which way I should move forward. And I thought this is a very simple practice that anyone can use to access truth. And so that seemed, really important. And that was one example. I interviewed, there's 35 interviews. So
Yeah.
any number of exercises and practices that you can pick up while watching the summit.
What an empowering lineup you have. I know quite a few of the people that you have listed as speakers. You guys have been doing this year after year after year. So what kind of transformation have you seen in the participants that attend?
I know from people who because obviously a lot of people will reach out after and during watching the summit. And the beautiful thing about it is you can gain full access where you can go through it at your own pace. So that's really helpful for a lot of people. But that also gives them the ability to go back and to practice. And if there are certain concepts that are new to them, then they say, like, wow, this just piqued my interest, or I never thought of this in this way before. But then again, they have the access to the recordings to go back and to continue to study. And even to Heather's point, continue to do certain exercises that are presented again and again. So I think for a lot of people, it's transformative in their understanding, but also very deeply in their practice.
And I would add to that that, a lot of us have taken these Reiki classes. We've learned from our Reiki teacher, but I think of Reiki as a gateway. And a lot of people are going to apply that and move forward with that in different ways. And with the variety of speakers that we have and the variety of perspectives and information that they bring, you can branch off, and people are finding new classes to take, new, mentors to follow. And that's really phenomenal. And in the process of that, we're all coming together as, a greater community, more and more connections being made, more and more people following on social media, participating in these conversations, expanding their minds, learning new practices, deepening their own practice, reaching out into the community in new ways. I just want to list one more example, just because this kind of blew my mind. I interviewed a woman this year, Rose Weinberg, who is the founder of BMON, a not-for-profit, and she attunes Reiki blankets, and those are available for people to send out to people who are undergoing cancer treatment. So they're receiving in the mail this gift that is a Reiki blanket that they can then snuggle up in as they undergo their cancer treatment. Now, I do a lot of Reiki outreach, but this is not anything that would have occurred to me, and I love that idea, and I love that people are out there coming up with these ideas, and we're inspiring each other and motivating each other to move forward, and apply Reiki in all the different unique ways that people can.
And I have to add too, because Heather mentioned expanding community. I think that is a huge piece for so many people who attend, because there are a lot of people who don't have immediate community or people in their lives who necessarily understand Reiki or energy work or whatever their interest may be. So for a lot of people, it's just that component of finally being able to connect with another group of people who understand what they're curious about and where they can get answers and where they can get support. So that is a huge piece of the summit as well.
Yeah, validation and
Right.
support and a path forward. Yeah.
Oh gosh, I would say that's so important, being able to have a like-minded community that you can have open discussions in regards to Reiki and how these different techniques in Reiki are helping people.
And not
Yes.
everybody agrees. People are coming from different lineages. They have different practices, maybe a little bit of a different perspective on it, but there's a very open mindedness about, over here they're doing it this way, over here they're doing it that way. And there's a great acceptance, which I love also.
My goodness, I thought it was such a gift that this summit is being offered for free for a limited time. Can you share a little bit about that with us?
That was
Well,
something that Maria has done, Reiki Rays has done from the beginning, just to give access. She just thinks it's incredibly important to disseminate this information and make it available. So it is a 5-day summit, November 8th to November 12th, and you can watch it free during that window. So a number of the interviews are presented each day, and they're available for 24 hours. And if you have the time, you can watch all of them for free. And I think of this as like 35 free Reiki classes. Whatever you
right.
paid for your Reiki level 1 class, here's 35 more classes for free if you have the time during those 5 hours. As Yolanda mentioned earlier, you can gain lifetime access to this. It's $57. Is that correct, Yolanda? $57
Right
if
now,
you
yes.
if you purchase before the summit starts, and then you can access it whenever. You can access it that week, you can access it the following week, next year, 10 years from now. Watch them at your leisure, rewatch them, have access to them forever for $57. Once the summit starts, that goes up to, I think, $198. So you do want to make the decision before it starts if you want that access. But if you want to watch during that window, it's free.
So, Yolanda, in what ways do you think participating in this summit can ripple out beyond personal healing to help create more peace and harmony in our wider communities?
Well, one of the phenomenal things about Reiki, which I didn't expect going in, I had no idea, just how we change through this practice. A big focus within Reiki in of itself is compassion. So there is something about balancing ourselves energetically, which also connects with balancing emotionally, which also connects with balancing mentally, because every part of our design is interconnected. We can't segment those aspects of ourselves out. So as we start creating more energetic balance, it's really to say we're creating more mental and emotional balance as well. And then in turn, we are literally projecting out energy differently. I mean, I always think of when someone walks into a room, those some people, they walk in and they literally light up the room. They haven't even said anything yet, but it's because of what they are generating internally. And so our presentation and what we contribute to the world goes far beyond what we may say, how we may act. It starts with just our presence. So there's a lot of change in our presence. And then again, becoming more compassionate, becoming more understanding. And so how you interact with the person at the grocery store even may be very different than it would have been in the past. And so I know that, if someone says hi to you or just some random act of kindness, it may shift your mood. And then you go on and interact with the rest of the people in your life and in your day differently. So it is very much a ripple effect, but it's crazy how much we think it's so personalized. But everything we do, whether you're practicing Reiki or not, how we show up has a contribution back into the collective.
Just to kind of reiterate what Yolanda said, that, as we deepen our own practice, we're all swimming in the same energetic soup. So as we work on our own energy and what we're putting out there, that influences everyone. And so there's that with our self practice, we're absolutely contributing to the whole, but also the ideas, and the, I talked about the woman, Rose Weinberg, with the blankets, and there was a woman, Robin Benelli, who's working with animals. Her whole thing is animal Reiki, and that's a big theme for a lot of people. They want to work with animals, and she had all these great ideas. And if this can inspire and motivate people to get out there and start doing it, that multiplies, So you're working on your energy field at home, you're inspiring other people, touching other people, they begin working on their energy field, and this again contributes to the whole. So Malcolm Gladwell talks about the tipping point, and I really feel like the more people that are coming in touch with Reiki and embracing Reiki and working with their own energy field and their own connection to themselves, we're just all growing and healing as a global community.
So is this summit just for practitioners? Is it for people who are seasoned with Reiki? Or is it for everybody? Who should be attending?
I think anyone that has a curiosity about Reiki, or, I mean, even if you have no intention of becoming a practitioner or taking a class, you're going to learn. And so I think at the very least, all of us could learn more about our overall human functionality. And this is a component that isn't often discussed. As you know, we often only learn about the physical aspects of our being, not understanding how the energetic is intertwined and plays a huge part. So I think that the summit is really great informational resource for anyone who just wants to educate themselves a bit, or if they really do have an interest in learning more about Reiki.
Yeah, there's certainly a variety of topics that on any day when, the 7 or the 8 interviews are put out, you can go through and pick, even if you're not familiar with Reiki at all, find something that you can connect with. Some of them are geared a little bit more towards, there's some, how to start a Reiki business. My talk this year was 5 ways to market your Reiki class. And that would be for Reiki teachers. So that wouldn't apply to newbies, but certainly among the 35 interviews, probably half of them or more would certainly appeal to someone who is just, starting to reach out and learn about Reiki.
There's so much here that I'm interested in. Colleen Benelli, she's got Holy Fire. And I'm like, okay, I need to check that out. That sounds pretty amazing. And just the different techniques that are used. What are some of the others that people can expect to see?
There's just a wide variety of techniques. I talked about the decision-making technique. There are meditations. I interviewed Parita Shah, and she is just so businesslike and so practical with her steps. And we did a talk on chakras, and she has all these ways that you can go through and evaluate and become familiar with and heal your chakras.
So there are even meditation techniques, guided journeys, which can be very beneficial, especially for people who are intimidated by the idea of meditation. And even speaking of that, for people who do access the summit, there are so many other additional free resources that are available, even beyond just the interviews and the conversations that are had. So you have access to a lot of free downloads that, again, can be resources, whether it's meditation or PDFs, other study downloads. But yeah, you can receive guidance, like Heather was saying, like real-time guidance through how do I work with symbols and how do I breathe and how do I meditate differently than perhaps I've done in the past. So it really, there are so many different topics that it's hard to list all of them, but you definitely, again, you will learn a lot, and it doesn't matter if you are a beginner or you've been practicing for years, you always will learn something new within the summit.
For those that are unsure about joining, what would you say to encourage them? I think that this is such a life-changing event, not only in how we perceive ourselves, but how we show up in the world.
Well, one of the things, just like with what Heather shared before, you have free access. So you have nothing to lose. I mean, at the very least, you have this free access to come and see what is being presented and what is available. And then we don't know what we don't know. So a lot of times we tend to have a lot of judgment or even fear around what we don't understand. And then we start to learn about whatever that thing may be. And you may find that it's life changing for you, or at the very least, it may inspire you in some ways. You never know how it will activate within you personally, so to speak. So, yeah, I just feel like you have nothing to lose because you do have free access, and you may want to share it with someone else in your life.
And it's been life-changing for me. It's been life-changing for Yolanda as we're interviewing these people and hearing some of their origin stories with Reiki. It's life-changing for so many people. So, yeah, you've got nothing to lose and everything to gain by just being curious and coming to explore and see what resonates with you. It doesn't have to all, you don't have to take it all in one big gulp. Just explore a little bit and maybe go that way a little bit and hear more of what that person has to say. Go look at their website, follow them on social media, and then maybe this person appeals to you and check them out. And, just take what moves you, and you don't have to take it all.
And I would say as well, it's not just practitioners. I mean, we have people who are presenting that work in the medical field. We have nurse practitioners. We have also, like I mentioned before, researchers. So there are a lot of academics even, and people that work in various professions that often we wouldn't associate with something like Reiki or energy work, and it's just not true. There's so much that is changing within our collective understanding around wellness and overall well-being. So again, it's free to see
Yeah.
what you may not know. Yeah.
Excellent point. As those worlds are collaborating and overlapping, yeah, this is coming. And
Yeah.
if you've been hearing about it and it sounded kind of fringe, that's shifting, and it's shifting quickly, because even 10 years ago, you know, we wouldn't have any of this available, and now it's so prolific because people are finding it and they're loving it and they're jumping on board.
Well, let's just run down through the schedule real quick because I saw this. I was like, wow, this is so empowering. I mean, you start day one, ground in your truth. And I think for a lot of people, I mean, we are so lacking in our grounding. We really need to be able to get to a point where we can feel more authentic.
Oh, 100%. And again, it's one of those things I think a lot of people are intimidated by the idea of grounding or really fully understanding what that means. But it could be as simple as, just breathing. And again, I always joke with people, bring your awareness right now to your feet. Like they've been with you all day. You just weren't paying attention to them. So there is a big impact on us with how we function, especially when it comes to that subject of grounding.
Yeah, as Yolanda said earlier, you don't know what you don't know. None of us are leading perfect lives. Everybody's struggling with something. And the idea that you could find support, through something as simple as Reiki, through the information that's presented, through finding a practitioner, through maybe taking a class to help you move through some of the more difficult challenges in your life that you didn't even know maybe were holding you down. Again, this should just be really incredible and life-changing for people, as it has been for almost everybody you're going to see in the summit.
So where can people go to learn more information and to sign up for the Reiki Rays Healing Summit?
There is summit.reikirays.com, and you will find the links there to register. Whether you're registering for the free access or you decide to do the early bird special and just get access to the entire summit, you can find all the links for registration there.
Heather and Yolanda, thank you both so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for having us.
Well, thank you both. It's been such an honor to spend this time with you and to talk about the 2024 Reiki Rays Healing Summit. To learn more and to register for this empowering event, visit summit.reikirays.com. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne, where we make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.